the other night when President Trump did his uh, campaign kickoff rally in the Orlando Magic Arena. He filled it, and we filled it. It looked exactly like one of our events. Um, and we had a very eclectic list of political celebrities, sports celebrities, entertainment celebrities, and business some celebrities. So you had three former U.S. presidents, including Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher from the UK, Mikhail Gorbachev from the Soviet Union. We had Ben and Jerry, one of whom I believe you are having at Living Legends.
That's right. We've got Jerry Greenfield, one of the founders of Ben and Jerry Ice Cream, coming to speak with us at the Living Legends event in Carnegie Hall.
So we had, every imaginable business person. We had broadcasters, Larry King, and before Larry, Paul Harvey. We had Reverend Schuler. We had a long list of sports people, NFL, Major League Baseball, Olympians, and interspersed in between them were what I call the famous people that nobody's ever heard of, like me.
Like me.
Who are famous in business settings and certain markets, but we don't have to really worry about being mobbed by the paparazzi. I followed former President Bush a number of times as the last speaker before me of the day. I followed General Colin Powell often over a couple of years. Before him, General Schwarzkopf of a couple of years. And the business speakers included Zig and I, who were on every single one of them. Brian Tracy on some of them. Tommy Hopkins on most of them. Jim Rohn on a few of them.
Well, those must have been a tremendous experience. I know you've got great stories. Tell us a story about the Bushes. I know you got one great story about the Bushes.
Well, I think George was brilliant at the profession of politics. So he was a note taker and a preparer. So he was always ready for, in a few-minute conversation before he went on, to ask me 4 or 5 questions as if he actually remembered from city to city, month to month, that I had a book coming out or I raced horses or, whatever. Barbara told me there was a 3x5 card on everybody pretty much he ever encountered once, that when he knew he was going to encounter them again, he could check them. The Barbara story I told you, I won't tell on the radio because it involves some, I don't know, critical commentary of a third party. But Barbara was very gregarious, wouldn't stay in the Secret Service protected room, was out amongst us. And it turns out she had a pretty healthy appetite for off-color jokes.
So are you saying? Are you saying that you only get the Barbara Bush story at live events, which illustrates the importance of going to live events? Is that basically what you're saying?
Well, sure, we can say that. I think the point to draw from it. I've been speaking professionally and to promote my own product, services, for businesses for 40 years. And this 9-year adventure made a major contribution to growth of my businesses and demand for my services. But all along, I think really anybody business, local, regional, national, global, can really benefit by making themselves a capable and confident speaker to 10, 100, 1,000. A lot of people are never going to need to stand up in front of 10,000 and 20,000, 25,000. Excuse my cough, like at these events. But butcher, baker, candlestick maker, financial advisor, doctor, lawyer, author, etc., really does need to be able to capably and confidently stand up in front of a group, put their ideas across, interest people in what they are all about. You can certainly look at politics and see what an enormous advantage it is or an enormous disadvantage it is, whether you are dynamic and exciting and even mildly comedic and confident up there, or you are timid and quiet and uninteresting and boring. And the same thing applies really to any business, not just politics.
Is there anything that you've done in your career that's had the impact of being a speaker, or is being a speaker just clearing away the best thing that a business person can do for their career? I know that
Well,
you know, Warren Buffett says it's the most important thing. It'll increase your lifetime income by 50%.
Well, so if you set aside, I mean, sort of the ante to be in the game, meaning once you attract attention to yourself, you better be able to deliver something of value. But so if you set that aside to answer your question, then I would say that no, nothing for me has matched speaking. For many people, being able to work the media, something you work on with people,
Yep.
is a suitable substitute that for them would have the same impact, or in many cases interconnects. I've not personally made a big point of that, and then third would be writing, would be able to push content out into the marketplace, and really all three are interrelated. But personally, no, nothing has ranked as high as being able to get on stage and be a walking, talking, living demonstration of expertise and value in an interesting way, and being able to gain important stages because you are able to do that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. This has been great. We're going to have more from you next week on the show. And next week, we're going to be talking about mentorship. So make sure you tune in next week if you want to hear more of Dan Kennedy. Dan, thanks so much for being with me this week on the show.
Thank you.
All right, great. Now let's go on to the second piece, which is the value and power of having a mentor. And you ready?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, we are so honored to have the one and only, no BS, living legend himself, Mr. Dan Kennedy, with us again on the greatest show of all time. Dan, thanks so much for making time and coming back with us this week on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, we spoke last week about your experiences talking in the arenas with Colin Powell and General Schwarzkopf and the Bushes and Donald Trump and everybody. And, you know, you have been such a great mentor to me in my career. You're definitely my number one top mentor. And I know that you've mentored literally thousands of people through the use of your products and countless people through your personal mentorship. Could you please talk about how important it is for a person to have a great mentor to accelerate their career? Maybe give some examples of the impact that mentorship has made in the lives of your top mentees and possibly even in your own?
Well, look, I think you can use the word mentor, you can use the word coach. In some cases, maybe the words advisor or consultant. Highly successful people in all fields tend to have a tight inner circle, inner circle around them, sometimes known to others, sometimes kept secret from others, who they rely on um, um, to have no agenda other than being helpful and bringing uh, different perspectives to what's going on in their businesses, careers, or their lives. And you're not going to find anybody that is really at the top of any game who has not constructed this for themselves. Um, they tend to be ongoing relationships. They tend to be able to be candid relationships. There's big benefit to fresh eyes brought to a situation that somebody is very up close to and involved in on a day-to-day basis. I've had the opportunity to be that person, the sounding board, the blunt, we use the term WBS, teller of truth to someone who often is surrounded by a lot of people afraid to tell them the truth. With a lot of entrepreneurs and CEOs, including people who started in that relationship with me with very small businesses and grown them to very big businesses. So all the way to billion-dollar enterprises, a lot of multi-million-dollar enterprises. And what I would say that is so important about it is that there's so much to know that you really can't be a deep expert and specialist in every aspect of what you're trying to do. So a lot of what I get called on for is direct marketing, direct response advertising, the financial engineering of a business around those things. And the entrepreneur or the CEO may not be able to be expert in that, and then expert in management and expert in finance. So you need this sort of, I don't know, team around you that you can rely on. I think it's important to make the point that you often hear about mentoring has something for free that happens internally in a corporate culture or in an industry community, and some of that has its place, but the old axiom, you get what you pay for, does apply. And so the most valuable of this is really coming from paid arrangements, paid relationships. The person being mentored, coached, or advised takes it all much more seriously when they are being charged for it. And candidly, the person providing the mentoring, the coaching, or the advice takes it much more seriously when they are being paid to do it. So, yeah, I've been in this role, as you say, hundreds and hundreds of times very directly, thousands and thousands of times a little more indirectly via group delivery or mastermind meetings. And in many cases, these relationships have extended over a decade or 2 decades or even 3 decades. So there's obvious value in it. I have my own little inner circle, people I rely on, both directly paid and paid via some sort of, exchange of value, quid pro quo. But I certainly wouldn't want to be navigating all of the waters I navigate alone. I mean, I have a sign up in the office that says, "Of course I talk to myself because sometimes I need expert advice." and I mean that's true as far as it goes, but it doesn't really go far enough. We live in a very complicated business and financial environment these days.
Who was the mentor that you hired who had the most impact on you?
Well, I don't think I'll name a person, but I mean, I'll give you categories. I have three that you could classify as financial and investment related. Each one paid and each one relied on for a different type of expertise. I have one who crosses that line with business and is very expert in the same fields I'm in, the consulting business, the speaking business, the information delivery business. And over 30 years, I've bought a day now and then and camped out with that person just to review how I'm playing the game and have be called upon to, there was a movie titled Defending Your Life.
Yeah.
To defend why I'm doing what I'm doing the way I'm doing it, challenged by somebody smart enough to listen to. Early in speaking, I went out of my way. I'm not a big fan of critiques by the audience, but I went out of my way to get critiques from people who were where I wanted to be and knew what they were talking about and had no other agenda other than to give me honest feedback. Tom Hopkins, certainly, the founder of the National Speakers Association, Kevin Robert. In direct response copywriting, I will sometimes pay and sometimes quid pro quo to have other real top pro A-level copywriters take a look at a draft.
Yep.
And comment. So there's 4 or 5 pods, if you will, on which experts in their fields are, who I consult with on a fairly regular basis.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure that this has been eye-opening for a lot of people. I really appreciate your taking the time to share your wisdom, and I'm looking forward to hearing more. I can't wait to hear what you're going to say, actually, at the Living Legends event at Carnegie Hall. And if anyone is interested in seeing Dan live at Carnegie Hall at the Living Legends of Entrepreneurial Marketing event, go to livinglegends2019.com and get your tickets now. They are going fast, and I'm so excited. Is it true you're bringing your wife and stepdaughter and granddaughter?
Yeah, probably grandson, by the way. But familiarity, dampens enthusiasm. So over the years, it's not like these people trek anymore to every place I'm speaking. As you probably know, when your first book comes out, everybody gets champagneed as a party. By the time your 20th book comes out, it's sort of, what, another book?
Yep.
But yeah, the venue itself, the novelty of this, the other speakers you've assembled, has made them want to attend, and that's great.
Fantastic. We're looking forward to meeting them and having you with us at the Living Legend. Dan, thanks so much for making time with us again to be on the greatest show of all time.
Thanks, Clint.
All right, fantastic. Now we're going to go into the third part. All right, everybody, we have the one and only living legend of entrepreneurial marketing himself, Mr. No BS, Dan Kennedy. Dan, thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Glad to be with you again.
And this week we're going to be talking about how important it is for a salesperson not to be a salesperson. This is one of the great lessons that I've learned by attending your many live Dan-only seminars in Cleveland. and you have a very specific philosophy about salespeople.
Well, so look, hardly anybody, even with known and identified needs, gets up in the morning eager to have an experience with a salesperson. They may not trust themselves in that environment. They probably don't trust salespeople per se. There's a lot of societal negativity about it. Candidly, salespeople are viewed as being placed toward the bottom of the totem pole of importance in life, not toward the top. So the smart sales professional makes a real point of not doing things and not behaving in a way that gets that label easily attached to them. And that means creating authority, expert positioning, celebrity, differentiation, the trusted advisor positioning, sort of everything but, oh, there's a salesman. And so we talk a lot about, how do you identify a salesman in the woods, right? And people can pretty easily and quickly do that. We know, for example, that salesmen have brochures and they have PowerPoint presentations on laptops. So if you didn't know what to do, you immediately know two things not to do. So that may mean a book instead of a brochure. It may mean a introductory seminar instead of a brochure. It may mean a newsletter instead of a brochure, but it definitely means no brochure. It may mean explaining yourself on a legal pad, but it definitely means no PowerPoint presentation. So there's a how you do not want to be perceived and identified aspect to this, and there's a how you do want to be perceived and identified aspect to this. I think a very relevant point is that typically the higher the income a person has, regardless of what their deliverable is, the higher the income a person has, the more perceived status they have, which in most cases they have deliberately created for themselves, because the higher the income, the more the person is being paid for who they are, not what they do. I mean, me coming and speaking at your event is as good an example as any. There's a ton of speakers who have business cards that say, "We'll speak for food." There's probably 1,000 of them in New York alone. And 900 of them are available a lot less expensively than I am. And hundreds of them are perfectly competent and capable speakers. So I'm not really being paid for the speaking. I'm being paid for who I am. And that really is true of the financial advisor, the doctor, the lawyer, the butcher, the chef and restaurant owner, looping back to a former life of yours, to the butter maker, on and on and on. So the higher up in income you go, the more it's about who you are, not what you do. And that pretty much precludes being perceived as another salesman.
There's a lot of speakers in New York who would be happy, who would be thrilled to be speaking at this event just for the cost of what I'm paying to fly you to New York City on a private jet, let alone your fee, which is on top of that whole thing. And I'm honored to have you join us. And you're absolutely right. The reason I have selected and hired every single one of the speakers in the Living Legends event is because of who they are. They are all somebody special. One final question, if I may impose just another minute or so of your time. What do you say to the person who says, I don't want to be a celebrity. I just really prefer to be a person behind the scenes. What about that if a client came to you with that attitude?
In almost every case, I don't keep them as a client. I mean, look, I'm not particularly interested in trying to climb Mount Everest in my underwear, just to prove that I can. And I don't really advise anybody else to put themselves through the same exercise. So you have to acknowledge and work with marketplace realities if you want the greatest possible success. And one of those realities is what we've just talked about. Now, that doesn't mean you pursue unpurposed fame just for the sake of having it. It doesn't mean that you have to be unable to walk down the street like Elvis without being besieged by people. Celebrity can be targeted and it can be managed. But if you want top fees, top income, top compensation from some constituency, it is really best to be famous as well as otherwise positioned authority, credibility, expertise, uniqueness, etc., to some audience, to some market. And so, I have this sort of professor of harsh reality thing that got hung around my neck a long time ago. And sometimes we have this harsh reality conversation. I have a client in financial services, wealth management, who very much resisted it starting 5 years ago and has gradually come to embrace it because the more of it we got him to do, the easier it got to attract exactly the clients he wanted. The more money under management flowed into the firm. Ultimately, the more media was interested in him. So he's now kind of a regular guest on Stuart Varney and Neil Cavuto, which becomes a rising tide that lifts all boats. I would say on a 1 to 10, he's still uncomfortable about his personal celebrity. Maybe on a 1 to 10, he's at a 6, but he was at a 9. And before I'm done, I'll have him at a 4.
Yeah, I think that people tend to like it more as they do more of it, and as they get better at it, it becomes more enjoyable, just like anything.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is just skill, right? And I mean, you're not really eager if you're no good at it to go play golf, particularly if a bunch of people are going to be around watching. And the same thing is really true of this.
Fantastic. Well, Dan, thank you so much for being with us again this week on the show. For those of you who would like to hear more of the wisdom, I have made so much money just hearing Dan Kennedy say one thing. He would just drop one idea at a conference that I was at, and boom, that turns into millions of dollars of sales. And I've spoken to other people, for example, Hal Elrod, another one of the Living Legends speakers, who told me he listened to one of your audio cassettes of a seminar that you did like 20 years ago. And just one thing he heard on that audio cassette is responsible for his entire business strategy, which has enabled him to sell 1.5 million copies of his book, Miracle Morning, as a self-published book with an $8 royalty. So, that's another feather in your cap piece of success that you may not have even known about. And now you do. He's another one of the speakers who will be at the Living Legends of Entrepreneurial Marketing, September 26, 7, and 8 at Carnegie Hall. If you are listening to this and you want more wisdom, genius, legendary entrepreneurs to be your mentors, come to livinglegends2019.com and get your tickets now. Dan, thanks so much for being with us on the show.
Thanks, Clint.
All right. Thank you, sir. I really so appreciate your time and the great work that you did here today and everything, you know, your contribution to my career, of course, but all of it. And I know we have another call scheduled for the end of August to go over, you know, the logistics of the event. And I'll look forward to talking to you then.
Thank you, Clint.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bye now. Wow, I went over 5 minutes, and that's not good. Fuck. But, you know, it's more time for him on the radio. Wow, I hope you enjoyed this little behind-the-scenes look at what it's like to interview a living legend, Dan Kennedy, for my radio program, the greatest show of all time. I'm not naked, by the way. I am wearing a bathing suit, but it's early. It's early in the morning. I was up till 4:30 in the morning working last night. And that's partially because of this guy. First of all, this guy is sober. George W. Bush is sober. And using him and George Bush as my inspirations, I think, has helped me to remain a sober man over the years. I'm now over 5 years of total sobriety. When I went on the Today Show with Brooke Shields, the next morning I woke up and I said to my wife, I think I'm done drinking. And I haven't had a drink since January 1st, 2014. And I don't know how many years he's been sober, but he doesn't talk about it that much. I'm more interested in helping people to see the light. And then, you know, hey, I only got him because you heard him. It's big time radio. Yeah, WABC radio, New York City, big time radio. And good golly, this was exciting. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want more of this mentorship that I have personally paid thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get, and on top of the fact that I'm paying him a small fortune to fly him in on a jet to New York City and put him up in a 5-star hotel to have him come and speak to you at Carnegie Hall, please go to livinglegends2019.com. Living Legends with an S, 2019.com. And there's a place for you to put in a promo code. If you put in promo code WABC, then you can get a super special discount on your tickets. So go check it out. You'll be very, very excited to see the super discount you can get when you put in promo code WABC in the promo code area when you're checking out with your ticket to the Living Legends of Entrepreneurial Marketing at Carnegie Hall. It's going to be amazing. I'm so thrilled. Look at the doors that I'm telling you, the Living Legends has taken me and my career to a whole new level. And if you show up, it will take you and your career to a whole new level, especially if you're a VIP and you have photos with Martha Stewart and let me show you the photo. Let me show you the photo with Martha Stewart that you're going to get. It's not just like some step and repeat banner of you and Martha Stewart. Here's the picture, okay? So that's Allie, my wife, on one side. She's the shorter one. And an executive from Carnegie Hall on the other side. And what are they standing next to? You see this? It says, an expansion campaign for Carnegie Hall. It's a wall where they list the donor names. That's going to be your background for your photo with Martha Stewart. And your photo's you can caption your photo, hanging out with Martha Stewart at Carnegie Hall. That's your caption of your photo. When you have that on your website, you're a different person. You're also going to get photos with Ice-T and his beautiful pinup wife, Coco. And look at the video that they made for me. You should check this video out that they made for me, Ice-T and Coco. Here you go.
Hey, what's up? This is Coco and Ice-T, and we want to shout out our amazing friends, Clint Arthur and his lovely wife, Allie.
We want everyone to show up at Carnegie Hall September 28th for the Living Legends event. Myself and Coco will be there and many more. Do not miss this.
September 28th is going to be Legendary.
Yeah, legendary. And, you know, that gives away the secret. The secret is they're going to be appearing on the 28th, okay? And the event is a 3-day event. It starts on Thursday, the 26th. It goes all day Friday, the 27th, and all day Saturday, the 28th. And if you're a VIP, there are events going into the evening on 2 of those nights, including the closing VIP boat trip cruise through New York City Harbor. It's a dinner cruise on an amazing boat. Let's see if I have a picture of the boat. Oh my God, I gotta have the picture of the boat. Where do you see this boat? I'm amazed that Allie found us this boat for this trip because it is so amazing. I mean, why did I pick a boat? I believe the weather in New York City is going to be incredible for this event. Okay, this is the boat. This is you on the boat. Okay, it's like a glass thing. But I wanted a venue for the closing party that was going to be available to the air, and also if it rains, it'll be protected. So this is the boat. You know, these are the view. This is what the boat is like. You can go outside. You can stay inside. Let's see if we can get this to move over here. And up here's, you can go, look at this view. This is the views, Jesus. Okay, and here's another view. Look at that view. This is what's going to be the networking boat party on the closing night for the VIPs. Don't miss it. Here's a daytime view of what this ship is like. Okay, and it's gourmet food, and for a networking event, look, everything I do is of the highest quality. One of the things I learned at the Wharton Business School is high price, high quality. Okay, now, honestly, the Living Legends event is not cheap, but what you get, oh my God, the value that we're delivering for what you get, especially for the VIP, photos with these giant celebrities that you can use for your marketing with no limitations, as well as the networking that we're doing in the environments that we're going to be doing it. You're crazy if you're not at the Living Legends of Entrepreneurial Marketing. Go to livinglegends2019.com, get your tickets now. And remember, put in WABC for a special bonus discount on your tickets. You'll be thrilled that you did it. Hey, I am looking forward to seeing Dan Kennedy, the living legend himself, on the stage at Carnegie Hall. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at Carnegie Hall for the Living Legends of Entrepreneurial Marketing. Take care, everybody.